Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about Terra. Let's go ahead and dig in. Now, if you want Terra to be meta-defining, there's only one situation where I really see that happening on the GL side in the near future. And that would be if the GL exclusive we get is a fire-oriented mage character. You know, there are people who've talked about Roberta, there are people who've talked about Olive, and I think we're going to need a powerful fire GL exclusive for Terra to be relevant in a PvP capacity. Even in a PvE capacity, Terra is not going to be a very powerful ally. However, I do think she's going to offer a very unique buff that no other unit offers. That's specifically going to be in her capability to boost evocation gauge boosting. I also think she's going to be very good in terms of sliding into a universal rainbow formatted party, particularly with some of the VCs that are coming out for her. So I think she'll be uniquely positioned to kind of slide into those rainbow compositions and be kind of self-sustainable, which is an interesting thing, particularly if you are a new player. So what's so special about Terra? The big thing about Terra, right? She has a standard master ability, fire attack up for HP, fire attack up for fire allies, increase AoE resistance 10% for self, increase magic 5% for self. Her TMR, you know, is going to give evocation boost up to allies in a cross-shape formation. It's also going to restore AP 20 for self. Now, you can see here a lot of units are going to be able to equip this. It does come with 8 defense, 10 spirit. The question is, will you ever use this? And this is one of those TMRs that I think has the potential to, in certain circumstances, enable you to clear content you wouldn't normally be able to clear. And what I mean by that is, of course, by utilizing the evocation gauge boost on this to help summon in a situation like a raid, for example, to help summon an Esper to give a specific status ailment down and a buff to your party members in order to be successful in potentially capping damage on a raid, or making it easier for you to clear content. Now, there's never really been a situation where you have needed this to clear content in the game. Whether you are a whale, potentially for more free-to-play oriented players, maybe there are situations where you've had to evoke an Esper in order to increase the amount of damage that you're going to do. There are situations where I have relied on evocation Espers to clear content, even though I haven't needed to. It was kind of a happy accident. So I think the combination of this TMR and her passive, which her passive, if you haven't seen it, actually gives evocation gauge boost 60 for self. I think there is a possibility that the combination of evocation gauge boost up on herself, in combination with potentially buffing allies with evocation gauge boost as well, could create a situation where Terra is potentially a really powerful unit and a required unit in some PvE content. Now, if you could reliably pull this off in PvP, if you could reliably summon an Esper, maybe not now, but maybe in the future, this of course would be very powerful. But for right now, I don't see that happening. We haven't kind of heard of that happening on the JP side. So we're going to have to kind of wait and see. Now, in terms of her sub jobs, she is going to have access to sub Blade Soul and Paladin. Whenever you see sub Blade Soul and Paladin, the first question you're going to ask is, does she have access to Immortal Spirit on her Paladin sub? And the answer is yes, she does have access to Immortal Spirit. So she will have access to that survive fatal damage. The problem, of course, is that we are getting more and more units that are going to be able to take advantage of this. We have units like Astoria coming out, who is the Water Crystal Warrior that will be able to have a follow-up attack, which will, you know, hit her, get her to 1 HP, and then the follow-up attack will kill her, right? There's lots of situations where Immortal Spirit is increasingly becoming, it's still powerful, but there are situations where it won't be as powerful. In terms of her passives, though, probably the most important one is Magic Sword Nose. So she is going to have access to a lot of spirit penetration. So she'll have 40 spirit penetration innately with agility 12% on this, which is really nice. You can build her for either spirit resistance with HP, defense resistance with HP, magic 24% with magic resistance, or you can increase evocation gauge boost. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said that she's going to be a really universal unit. She can kind of slide into any composition because you're going to be able to gear her defensively for a lot of different opponent types. So she will be able to be versatile in that respect. And I do think she's going to have some flexibility, which is really nice. And we've seen flexible mages such as Kilfei, Luel, Sumber Elsorel be really powerful in a lot of PvE settings. So I'm really excited for that. Her counters, of course, she has Paladin Guard, she has counter AP absorption, which is pretty good. 30% chance proc to absorb 20% AP, guaranteed critical hit chance. This could be good to drain AP from your opponent. Curious how effective this is going to be. I would wait and test this out. I'm not sure. Paladin Guard may be better if you're going in a situation with a lot of sort of physical damage. Her primary kit is going to be Fire Slash and Fire Magic. Now, her primary ability is going to be, it looks like it's Chaos Sonic Slash or something. It's going to be a 3 range height 2, 8 cast, 13 AP, 121% modifier. Another interesting thing here, dialogue with Phantom Beast. Increase summon gauge 250 for self. So I don't know if this is a 25% increase or not. I'm assuming it is. So potentially this could increase the summon gauge, you know, almost 25%. Assuming that the summon gauge caps at 1000, that's usually how these modifiers work. It can only be casted once, which is a little unfortunate, but that, again, in a certain circumstance where maybe you need to focus on summoning an Esper, it could give some really powerful buffs to your allies. Now, we also have Fyraga Sword, which is going to have a chance to inflict disable. I think a lot of people always forget that Fyraga Sword has a chance to disable. It's a 200% modifier, Ice Killer 25x. It has pretty good range here and range height. She gets a buff, magic power, and concentrated release. So it's going to increase slash attack 40 for 3 turns for allies, magic 40% for self, and slash resistance penetration 40. So this is kind of one of those things where she's going to have a lot of slash resistance penetration as well as having spirit penetration. And to point out as well down here, her limit burst is going to add an additional spirit penetration 40 for herself. And it's going to do 200% modifier attack with really good range height and AoE height. So she's going to have on average 80 spirit penetration no matter what. So, you know, stack on top of that, potentially slash resistance penetration. And it's going to be really hard to mitigate her damage a lot of the times, unless you have potentially, you know, stat down on her, you have some type of defensive oriented party. She's going to hit like a truck, it looks like. Now, the global buff was to her ability Meltdown. Now, Meltdown is a magic-based attack. It has 3 casts. I see everybody saying that the director said it was getting +3 additional casts, so that would be 6 casts. When I was watching the live stream, I thought they said +1 additional cast. You know, +3 seems a little excessive to me. I don't think adding +1 or +3 would make much of a difference, because I think there's very few times you're going to get through all of these casts of Meltdown. But if it is +3, if it is +1, I'm unsure. But either way, I don't think this is going to be a big enough buff for Terra to make her extremely powerful. I would have liked to have seen like modifier enhancement or potentially some defensive utility here. Maybe Dispel Re-Raise added onto it would be maybe too powerful, but it's going to be 100% hit chance, 200% modifier, and then it'll increase magic attack 25 for 3 turns at the end of turn. And then her final job level 25 ability is Magic Barrier, which is kind of funny that it's called Magic Barrier, but it reduces the physical damage taken 50% for 3 turns to self. So pretty good defensive utility here, but we do have a lot of units with barrier breaks right now. Her sub job, I think you're not going to be setting Sub Magic Warrior. All it really offers is going to be Fyraga and Nullify, Silence, Confusion, Charm, and Disable for allies. you may set Subblade Soul. Oh, I should point out though, Nullify, Silence, Confusion, Charm, and Disable. There are very specific PvE situations where nullifying Charm and Disable could be really powerful. So maybe in some situations you will set this. I think most of the time people are either going to be setting Subblade Soul for enhanced damage, or they're going to be setting Sub Paladin for Immortal Spirit. I think Subblade Soul is going to be more popular because it's going to give her fire / range that's going to give her more utility. Otherwise she really just has Meltdown, which is her long range attack, or her LB. And we haven't really had a Blade Soul class that had like a sub Blade Soul that's used. Ibarra has it, but a lot of times Ibarra is using abilities from her primary kit. We also have the Water Select unit that is main job Blade Soul. So we haven't really had a secondary Blade Soul kit that is going to be utilized a lot, and I think that's what Terra is going to bring. So she of course has slash attack 25 up for allies and critical hit rate up. You're probably going to turn that off. Demon Knife to lower attack and magic has a decent range. Sword of Solution is going to probably be used quite a bit because it has a really nice range. Dispel all buffs when performing critical hit, and dispel haste for targets. And then of course you have decreased bravery. Probably more exciting is Tachi of the Broken Bamboo Power, which is going to be restoring CT 250 when performing critical hit. That's probably going to be most often used with her. Overall though, just pretty excited for her kit. There's a little bit of discussion in terms of what her weapon's going to be and what VCs you're going to be setting with her. She is going to be getting a buff to her VC, which is going to give additional magic up and agility up to her. I personally am really fond of Bringers of Shadow. I think Bringers of Shadow, utilizing her in a rainbow formation, you could of course use GL Glaciella this way as well. But I think the attack plus 50% is the only other universal attack up VC besides Ifrit that you can set in your secondary slot. There are of course very high attack increasing elemental buffs, but not necessarily universal buffs. So I think pairing this VC, when I initially did my Final Fantasy XIV VC reviews, this VC was like, it's okay. I'm gonna get it because I like the attack up. And the more that I'm looking at it, the more that I'm thinking about it, the more that I'm kind of processing secondary VCs, I'm thinking, this could actually be really good on the right unit. This could be potentially when double VCs comes out, what maybe dressed up Glaciella needs, what potentially Terra needs, right? You're going to give fire units pierce resistance up. It could potentially be that the GL exclusive is Roberta, which would be a fire pierce unit, which would help you with pierce resistance if you're going up against them. There's a variety of reasons I think this VC could be very powerful. In terms of weapons, Tina's sword is going to be coming out, and it gives spirit penetration 20. Magic 150 in the magic form. I actually think this is going to be not the best sword for Tina. Of course, this is going to be a good option. I really think though that the flame tongue is going to be better, and people might, get upset at me over this. But I think genuinely having 30 mod to both of her abilities, right? So, you get plus 30 fire attack, which applies to whether she's using a slash attack or a magic attack. And then you get plus 15 slash attack. So if she's using a slash attack, she's going to get a 45 mod. And potentially you could be getting 71 magic. Granted, you're missing out on 80 magic, but I think in the grand scheme of things, having a potential 45 mod versus missing out on 80 magic, 20 spirit pen, I think it would be a tough sell. I think you're going to be better off this way, particularly with TMR runes coming out. I think, weapons that are going to have spirit penetration, particularly for mages, when you are going to augment your TMR runes, you potentially have to consider, you also have spectacles, right? So I could just run spectacles and flame tongue and I would get the same amount of spirit penetration. I could run TMR runes. I could run spirit penetration to get that plus 20 spirit penetration. So I could run a spirit penetration kit. Or under the attack runes, get the plus 10 there, and I could get the passive for plus 10. So that would be 20 spirit penetration there, which would cap Terra out. So when I'm looking at weapons now, like Tina's sword, right? And I'm seeing that spirit penetration 20, I'm thinking, is this going to take away from my TMR rune? Am I going to be able to get the same results from my TMR rune. And I kind of think about all of that and put it all together. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I have for Terra. I'm really curious what all of you think down below in the comment section, whether you think Terra will be viable, whether or not you're pulling for Terra. I think a lot of people love her. A lot of people love her as a character, as a unit, as, you know, a Final Fantasy VI mascot, so to say. It is a little unfortunate that we're not getting green-haired Terra. I understand that. It's also a little bit unfortunate that we are not getting trans Terra in any capacity. So maybe we'll get that in the future. If you guys do want to support me, use my affiliate link when you're pulling dig.gs/coins or dig.gs/offer. And everybody, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll probably see you guys all later tonight for news night. Catch you guys later.